Alrighty, would you believe? We're going out into the warehouse. Many of you don't understand what it's like to have thousands and thousands, millions of items all stacked up. Well, I want you to learn what the possibilities are when I go to liquidate all those things. Adding machines. Can you believe we used to add on those instead of calculators? There's an old camera for doing videos. Long time ago. Not like the one you're holding in your hand. All the things I've got over here, from the tin ceiling to old furniture, we're just cleaning up. You can't believe how dirty this place was just a short while back. Days. Now some of this, well, you can't really see a lot here. I guess I should add another light into the picture here. What this does is gives you a little bit of view. Windows, that's also all heavy glass, super heavy glass. There's some of the gingerbread. I have lots of gingerbread. For those of you who are into the estate sale kind of stuff, antique bottles, canning jars, ball, cur. Oh, there's a barbed wire for one of those barbed wire. This is all a bunch of church pew magazine, Bible holders for the backs of church pews, for example. There's going to be tons of stuff. We haven't even gone through the bottles yet, but there's just all kinds of bottles. And then doors. My goodness, I brought in doors from Buffalo, New York, Lincoln, Nebraska, St. Louis, all the way from Buffalo, New York. Thousands of doors. I had accumulated one of the largest inventories in the United States, just of doors and windows. When we talk about windows, we're talking about lots of windows. And this is not my bigger warehouse. What you're seeing in front of you, 6-pane windows, 2-pane windows, 4-pane windows, some with textured glass, sashes that have been around for centuries. But even better, new old stock, never been installed. Cypress. That's actually literally the windows in flint blocks for the bottom of your trim on an antique house. Younger kids may not know much about that. Would you believe that's all parts to make windows out of? Make sashes out of? All made out of cypress in 1895. Stored and saved all those years. Yeah, and it's not all. Transoms, never been used, and lots more. All this is cypress. Cypress windows. Would you believe? Never been installed. New old stock. Just like all of this. And this. These are all fireplaces. Yeah. Fireplace fronts. They would go on coal fireplaces. Some of these, a lot of arched ones, for example. Look at that. There's at least a dozen of just that one style. Sashes, literally window sashes, never been installed. Entire sets made out of cypress. You can put in the old double pane glass, no problem. These are actually window doors, the ones that lifted up into the wall. Because look how tall they are. 6 foot, 7 foot tall. So, all sorts of goodies. Doors. Some of these doors are gigantic. And they're all for sale. Yeah, you can be putting them into houses and creating stuff. That's actually an upside down entrance. If you follow it to the top, you actually see that there's a transom above it, and that holds 2 doors, a 5-foot opening. Just put that in, saves you a couple $1,000s in labor. Up above, you'll see all sorts of spindles and different types of windows again. More doors, more windows, tons of them. And some of them, new old stock, never been installed. Doors, shutters. These are expensive shutters for your windows. Put those in your windows. It blocks out literally 10 degrees of heat gain in the room. More stuff for fireplaces. Literally. And for grills, and for barbecues. We're going to have a bunch of this stuff out showing for sale. And then look at all the styles. of different fronts for fireplaces, or if you want to use them for dog houses, entrances. I've got so many, you could use them for anything you want to use them for. Look at how many there are. And then as far as types of wood, 1x12s, full dimension, barnwood, siding, literally. In fact, there's one batch up here. Look at that. That's actually a barnwood shiplap. Very unusual. Very unusual. This is an oak flooring, circa 1940s, 30s, when they went ahead and made a 3/8 inch thick to go over the pine floors. Look at the moldings. Again, all this is going to be for sale for you people who like to create things. Look at those windows. You get to have them with all the accessory ornamentation, even at the bottoms. Again, hardware. Hardware, hardware, hardware. And then if you want moldings, say crown, you want some wide crown, there's some as much as 7-inch wide. That's all 5-inch. There's probably 200 feet, 300 feet of it there. Where could you get that in real wood? Trim like that? Yeah. All this is for sale. It's been stored away for many years. Now let's get into some big stuff. A whole stairwell. And then 1x6s all milled out of oak, fresh milled. And then you have beadboard and trim. And this is an entire porch. All the rafters cut and bird's mouth. And they're 4x4s. And then on top of that, there's the sandwiched face to face 2x8s that form the headers for the porch. That's a 60-foot long porch. All the parts you need. Add the lath and put the roofing on, and you got a wonderful, wonderful porch. So hard to find that kind of wood, and even harder to find the carpenters to put it together. Okay, look at that. Is that not long? Yeah. That's 2x12s, 2x10s, 2x8s. Same thing over here. And it's not just thin wood, that's longleaf pine. That's 10 times as strong as new pine. Here's some shiplap on the floor. These are 20-foot long pieces of shiplap. And if you look at that, oh my goodness, look at how thick those beams are. And those are long. Those are probably a good 12-foot long. They hold up quite a place with that. Now if you get back in here, 6x6s, longleaf pine. Again, 2x10, 2x12s. And look at the burling on that. Pieces like that with heavy burling, they can be worth a lot of money. Would you believe that stuff has sold for as much as $42 a square foot in the past? And then look up there. See the length on those things? That's longleaf pine. About 4 pounds per board foot. Really slow growth. You can see the growth lines, and you can see on the ends, every line is a year of growth. That tree only expanded 32nd of an inch in diameter per year for 800 years. Isn't that crazy? And it's not just that one. When you look at all these, look at the tight grain. We now grow a tree and harvest it in 7 years. That's 7 of those rings. That's all in a fully grown tree now. And if you don't know about it, the structure is in the growth lines. That's where your structure is. If you have soft tissue like that one, where it's a little wider, those widened gaps are just veins, okay, for water to flow through. So when you see something like this, look at that. Isn't that incredible? Every line is a year of growth for the tree. Astonishing. Look at the lengths on those. Some of those are 18, 20 foot long. There's some 8x8, full dimension 2x's, and this goes back a long ways. This is all stuff that you could be using to create incredible houses, structures that will last for lifetimes. And siding, all that kind of stuff. What is it you want to do with your life? What do you want to create? Do you want to create something fun and different? Here's some of the spindles. There's a little set of stairs. And as you can see, as I'm going through here, just got caught. We haven't gotten into this yet. Lamp parts. door parts. Beautiful. Some of this stuff, alipane. Yeah. Hinges, lots of hinges. Lots of parts and pieces. And again, you just don't know what you might find. That's German siding. See that little bump on there where the green dot is? That's actually a type of siding that's very unusual, very hard to find. It only was made for about 15 years in the 1800s. Then they switched over to stuff like this, novelty siding, and other cuts, particularly. That's another case of German siding right there. And so I have that in stock too, for those of you that need it. Literally everything you can imagine. Door stop, window stop, battens, and beams. Even have more beams outside. Anybody want some good storage units? Those are combination lock cabinets. I have about 6 of those. And if you look up on top, that's entire house worth, 2 houses, 3 houses worth, 2x8 jams. Those are incredibly strong windows. 10 of them, I think, maybe 10 of them in there. It's enough to do a big, big house with thick walls. Especially good for cold area where you want to have lots of insulation on the walls. That's a nice thickness. Above, you'll also see behind it, there's also more windows. That upper floor has 30 houses worth of stuff. Doors, windows, everything up there stashed. You can kind of see them in the distance. Ultimately, I'd love to see people build houses out of things like that. Use doors for walls. Great windows like this. If you see up there, it's got the little angles on it. And then the one behind it, why, it's got the arch tops. Oh, you can't really see them from here. Arch top windows. So, what you're looking at, trim, 1x12, 1x14s. Some of that, look at the thickness, the widths of them. All this is available to build with, to create with. Over there on the rack, that is longleaf pine flooring. Look how long. Very hard, 1800 circa. Up on the top, again, more of that thick lumber. And then you can see I have all sorts of cool things in floorings. Actually made that flooring, that's the bottom of it. And then look at that beadboard. Look at how wide. 8-inch wide beadboard. Very limited amount of it, but it's super cool. And then, look at that. Real pickets, cypress pickets, fence pickets. I think I have about 100 of them. There, let's put you down to this size again. That is a whole stairwell. Everything you can imagine. Spindles. Who wants some spindles to make stuff with? These are new old stock spindles. A lot of these have never been used before even. And square spindles. Up on top you see oak. That would be for a arts and crafts house. There's a whole railing there. Yeah. There's a version in white. All parts and pieces. Barn doors. Look at that. Beautiful Z-bar barn door, and it's done with double-sided, double beaded. In this case, look at that. Double-sided, double beaded Z-bar door. There's your Z. Nice. So barn doors can be used just for decorative purposes. They don't have to be functional. You can just put it on the wall so it looks like it goes someplace. Windows, spindles, more spindles. You can make all sorts of stuff with these. Tables, other things. These are cool. These are old dividers for offices. So you put that on the upper half of the wall and you have glass for the cubicles. There's 2 of those with the glass in them. And then 2 of them without the glass. So you can put beadboard or something in those if you wanted to, and be able to have the bottom half be beadboard. Look at that. Anybody need some shutters, cypress shutters? The old style, good style? What size? Don't have a lot, but I have some. How about, anybody want to have some church pews? I got half. Everything you can imagine. Look at that. Columns, posts. Amazing amount of stuff. Also tilting over. It's been that long. This has been in mothballs for 10 years, 12 years now. All this cool stuff. These are shutters. These are bulletproof shutters. They're so thick and so heavy, they would have stopped bullets in the 1800s, and that's where you stick your rifle barrel out of. Really, I'm not joking. Up on top, there's some nice dressers for along underneath the windows. Those were actually radiator covers in the old days to make the radiators look better. Corbels, I got 4 of those. Those are cool. Arch trim, I actually have the arch windows to go with them. This is all some of the stuff I wanted you to be able to see before I have the whole month of July dedicated to a special sale. I want to eliminate a huge amount of my inventories so that we can go ahead and have some younger people maybe take over and carry on a business of being able to provide all this stuff to you. Those are industrial grade windows up there. Giant windows. All sorts of beautiful old glass you don't have to make again. You can build greenhouses and all sorts of things out of that. Some of this stuff that you're going to see, doors, these doors come from all over the world. That's actually faux painted. That's not the real grain. Somebody painted that grain on there. Let's see if I can shine. There you go. That's just somebody's paint job. It's really a plain door. Even that. That's all just paint job. Isn't that crazy? Here's a case of a beautiful tiger oak door. Gorgeous. All sorts of doors. Comes to, you want French doors, oak. Do you want your doors with textured glass? That's a nice pair. It's been painted. That's snowflake glass. Some of the doors get big. 10 foot, 9 foot. Look at that. A matched pair of store doors, circa 1890. All of this, that's an example there of a glass that changes out to a screen door. Those are more common up north. All of this, look at that, how far back it goes. So all windows, all doors. Look at that, 3 foot wide matching pair of doors, 8 foot tall. Amazing stuff. And I'd like you to be able to use this. I spent a lot of time collecting it all. Again, faux painted. That's not the real grain. See if I can, there you go, maybe you can see it. That is artificially applied all the way down to make it look like a different wood on that panel. I used 3 of those to make a ceiling one time. Made a beautiful ceiling. Here's another pair of store doors with the glass in them. Pair of them. 125 inches tall. 112 inches, 112 inches tall. Yeah. Doors that have the round arches in them. There's actually a round door. These are doors from Quincy, Illinois. When you see that pattern, that was Quincy, Illinois. There you go. You want a wide door. How's that? 4 foot. Monster. Monster. Again, another door where you take out the glass and put in a screen and put the glass back in when winter comes. Stacks. Stacks. You see over there on the top, that's actually longleaf pine, 1x12. The lumber that you see is amazing, some of it. There's stacks of lumber, a couple thousand square feet. For example, look at the length. And this is a wood that's one side smooth, all tongue and grooved, and the other side's weathered, which I think you can see well there. So you can use it as a siding or as a flooring. And then there's, oh goodness, for example, up on top, look at the length. That's siding, 21, 22 feet long. And then dimensional lumber. If you want it rough sawn, beautiful. 2x4s, 2x6s, 1xs. All the lath you could imagine to put up on the roofs, so you have solid wood decking. All that. Got it all. Back over here, so cabinet doors, for example. Gingerbread. Oh yeah, there's a selection of new old stock gingerbread. About 4 pieces of that. Never been painted, never been used. Probably 40 years, 50 years old. Stacks. Stacks. So if you come to our estate sale, you'll be able to buy some of this at probably a third to the half of anything you ever see on the market anywhere else. Literally. Incredible prices. Some of the stuff you'll see be old and good. Some of it needs scraping, but it make great doors. Cabinets. Look at this. Ready to go. And again, I don't believe how big the shatters can get. Look at that. Those are like 10 footers. You need columns. We got columns to put on the house, turn posts, and even this really cool ridge cap. That's the ball for the ridge cap. And then you'll see a bunch over there, more pickets, fence pickets, the real stuff. I know I have at least 100 of them. For those that want to do the real thing. Some of this stuff, again, might be $10, $15 to buy some of this stuff. Columns, those are nice. Those are actually out of India. Cabinets. You need a couple sets of cabinets, both the same size. In great condition, just dirty. Same thing, here's another one in green. So, once more, what are you looking for? Are you into antiques? Are you into lumber? Building things? Because if you are, I'm telling you what, I got it. So up on top, 1x12, even tongue and grooved. Hand tongue and grooved. Right up at the top over there. And that's 1x12 over there, full 1-inch thickness. Came off of a barn about 200, maybe 180 years old. And then you'll see all sorts of trim stacked up and tongue groove. And look at that beautiful post. I may sell that this year, but I've got such a fondness for it. I hate to sell it. And back in there, all that. Look at that siding in the distance. So that gives you an idea of the volume. Now, let's just say, for example, you want to do a ceiling in beadboard. Well, there's a whole ceiling right there. And that beautiful green milk paint. And as soon as you put a little bit of oil on it, oh, that's going to really show up nicely. Look at that. Below that, a bunch of 1x, just lath. You put that on a ceiling, on the roof, and look at there. Want a nice stairwell? Oh, man. And it's the code, 7-inch risers, 12-inch treads, and that's a width big enough to use on a commercial application because it allows for traffic to go upstairs and downstairs, both directions at the same time. Imagine that. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this out so that you can go ahead and have a chance to maybe think about coming to visit for my big sale. We're going to be selling all the way through July. I mean to tell you, there is a bunch of stuff. This is just the hardware section. That's some track hardware for pocket doors. Let's turn the light on. You know, we actually got lights now. Look at that beautiful cabinet. All those drawers, all full of cool stuff. You might want some giant hinges. You might want hardware, more industrial grade hinges, more hardware. Cool cabinets too. I don't know if I'm going to sell those yet. Hinges. Oh my goodness. Barn hinges. Great hinges. This is a sample of the hardware. What are you putting on for sale? Yeah. Isn't that gorgeous? So all of these represent one of my favorite collections. Altogether, we have about 20,000 pieces in that collection. Transom hardware, the good stuff, if you want it. Another one of those grand hinges. Pieces of wrought iron. And again, when you're looking for stuff, it might be just something like, oh my goodness, how many handles could they have made? Or, oh, I need that. Huh? So you'll go through and find stuff, and you never even knew you needed it until you need it. All those drawers are full. But guess what? I'm also selling off some old tools. Planers, routers. Look at that. Bandsaws. And for those of you who know the name brand, that's a Stickley. Stickley, made in Tennessee. All out of oak. Some fool painted it. Needs to be stripped down. Gorgeous fireplace. And then back over here, doors. Just stuff. So much stuff for sale. When you sort it out, there's so much stuff I couldn't even get all sorted. Anyway, anybody like Schlitz? Would you believe? In Michigan, we call that Schlitz. Milwaukee famous Schlitz beer. This is Texas. So I have a bunch of these old vintage coolers. Maybe you want a cooler just for the fun of it. Maybe you're from Michigan. Slabs of mesquite that you can do stuff with, make counters with, make tables with. Oh my goodness, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Doorbells. Square nails. Would you believe I got a whole collection of new old stock square nails if you want to do something like that? Hey, there you go. Whoops. Nice school bell. There you go. If you do bees, that's a little bee smoker. You see all sorts of good stuff over there. Oh my goodness. And so all this stuff is going to be available. Lighting, shades. Look at that piece. Is that not unique? So I specialize in unique stuff. Also cabinet doors. You want to tile your kitchen with the cabinet doors. Why not just get the doors and make your holes to fit the doors? There's a nice old screen, classic. Bluebird. Saw blades, want to paint on some? Doors. So, anything you can imagine. Oh yeah, by the way, anybody want an old bed? Look at that. Circa 1800s. Got a few of those. This is already getting fairly long, but I wanted you to be able to go ahead and have a good idea of all the stuff available. So I'll probably try to cap this in shortly. But just so you know, we're selling entire pallets of flooring, of beadboard, shiplap. So if you want to get bundles, what a great chance. Not to mention tile. If you want to do a roof and tile, hey, I got some tile. About 3,000 feet of that Mexican clay tile. And then we got this, which is a flat tile. And it's actually like 1911, circa. Probably about 700-800 feet of that. These are just some of the things you can get if you decide to come and visit for our big sales. Not to mention, that's the loopholer. And that's the retreat. Meow. 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 There's another bed. And this is my cat's. One of my many. He's a good boy. So the retreat is going to be available as well. We'll make another video about that. So, what do you think? Was that not quite a story? I didn't get through half the place. But I'll do more. Please share this. Anybody you know that wants to go ahead and build a tiny house or home of any size. I am making such an incredible offer for people to get materials so that they can go ahead and carry on with the concept of pure salvage building, pure salvage mining. Yeah. Please join me and my cat, and we'll have a great time. There's another house over there. Look at that. And then there's another house over here. This one's not for sale, but it sure is beautiful. It's a gypsy wagon style. Anyway, we'll see you soon.